Maya had always felt like a guest in her own life. At 25, she was quiet, kind, and incredibly careful with people's feelings. She worked at a small clinic, helping elderly patients fill out forms, always offering a smile even when she was exhausted. Her adoptive mother, Mama Rose, was a warm, soft-spoken woman who always smelled faintly of shea butter. Her adoptive father, Baba Tund, was a serious man with gentle eyes, who showed his love by fixing broken things around the house. They loved her. She knew that, deep down. Yet, something inside her always felt loose, like a thread that had never been properly tied. One rainy afternoon, while searching for her old school records in a dusty wooden drawer, Maya's fingers brushed against an old, forgotten envelope. Inside was a hospital paper, the ink faded with time. Under the heading Mother, a name was written. It wasn't Mama Rose's name. Her hands began to shake, a cold dread creeping up her spine. The world around her seemed to tilt. That evening, the house was unnervingly quiet, the only sound the drumming of rain against the windows. Maya placed the paper on the dining table between her parents. Mama Rose stared at it, the color draining from her face. Baba Tund removed his glasses slowly, as if time itself had become heavy and thick. "We always wanted to tell you," Mama Rose whispered, her voice cracking as tears began to fall. "We were just so afraid you would think we didn't love you enough." Maya's chest ached with a pain she couldn't name. It was a mix of confusion, betrayal, and a strange, hollow sadness. "Who is she?" she asked, her own voice barely a whisper. Her birth mother's name was Amaka. The name felt foreign on her tongue, yet it sent a shiver through her entire body. 2 weeks later, Maya found herself on a bus, traveling to a small, remote village. The road was dusty, and the air was thick with a humid heat she wasn't used to. When she stepped off the bus, children ran barefoot past simple mud houses, their laughter echoing in the still air. Her heart beat a frantic rhythm against her ribs with every step she took toward the unknown. An old woman, her face a road map of wrinkles, pointed her to a small shop made of weathered wood and corrugated zinc sheets. Inside, a thin woman stood with her back to the entrance, carefully arranging tomatoes in a neat pyramid. Her wrapper was faded but clean, and her movements were deliberate and graceful. When she finally turned, her eyes met Maya's, and she froze. The basket of tomatoes slipped from her hands, spilling onto the dirt floor. "Maya," the woman breathed. The name sounded like a prayer, like it had lived in her mouth for 25 long years, waiting to be spoken. Maya could only nod, a lump forming in her throat, stealing her ability to speak. The woman, Amaka, moved slowly, cautiously, as if she were approaching a dream that might shatter if she moved too quickly. Up close, Maya could see the fine lines etched around her eyes, the profound sadness that sat quietly behind her gentle smile. "I never stopped thinking about you," Amaka said, her voice shaking with a quarter-century of pent-up emotion. "I was so young. I had no money, no home. My family, they sent me away. A kind nurse at the hospital told me about a couple who couldn't have a child of their own. She promised they would love you well." Tears streamed down Maya's face, washing away the years of quiet questions. "Why didn't you ever come back for me?" she asked, the question that had haunted her for the past 2 weeks. "Oh, but I did," Amaka whispered, her own tears now flowing freely. "I saved every coin I could. When I finally came back, they had moved. The neighbors didn't know where. I searched for years. And then I stopped, because hoping hurt too much." They stood there in the dim light of the shop, two strangers bound by blood, both crying, both afraid to bridge the gap between them. Then, Amaka reached out a trembling hand and gently cupped Maya's face, holding her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. "You are alive," she said, her thumb stroking Maya's cheek. "You are grown and beautiful. That is enough." Maya leaned into her touch. It felt strange, yet overwhelmingly familiar, like remembering a forgotten lullaby from early childhood. "I have a good life," Maya managed to say through her tears. "Mama Rose and Baba Tund, they love me very much." Amaka nodded quickly, a look of profound relief on her face. "Thank God," she sighed. "That is all I ever wanted for you. All I ever prayed for." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the village, they sat together on a simple wooden bench outside the shop. There was no anger. There was no blame. There was only a shared, quiet pain, and a quiet, blossoming love. It was an understanding that passed between them without words, a healing that began in the silence. Before Maya had to leave to catch the last bus back, Amaka pressed a small, folded cloth into her hand. Inside was a tiny bracelet, woven from red thread and small, colorful beads. "You wore this as a baby," Amaka said, her voice thick with emotion. "I kept it all these years, just in case God ever brought you back to me." In that moment, Maya hugged her birth mother tightly, feeling the frailness of her small frame. The hug was an anchor, a connection to a past she never knew she had. That night, on the long bus ride home, Maya held the little bracelet in her palm and cried. But these were not the tears of a lost girl. She wasn't lost anymore. She was crying because she finally understood that she had been loved in two different places, by two different families, in two completely different ways. And for the very first time in her life, that loose thread she had always felt inside her heart felt gently and securely tied. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more.